Ewan McGregor is a hard guy to pin down. One minute he's a heroin addict, the next he's making love to Nicole Kidman. And before you know it, he's a Jedi warrior fighting alongside clones. In the next hour, Ewan McGregor, with a little help from family and co-stars, will tell you how he beat the odds to become a star. And Ewan being Ewan, he'll do it in his own candid, funny, and always sexy way.
That was interesting, wasn't it? Right.
Stay with me as Ewan McGregor is revealed.
There's an incredible power in standing naked in front of a bunch of people. It was an awful nightmare. I've had a few crashes, yeah.
His hometown is tough to find on a map of Scotland. He dropped out of high school telling his folks, hey, I think I'd like to try acting. And wouldn't you know it, almost overnight, he was more than a working actor, more than even a star. To his own amazement, Ewan McGregor was an international heartthrob. That unlikely career path seemed like a good place to start our conversation. You know what? Like, women go crazy for you.
Really?
And I think it's because of Moulin Rouge.
Well, that's fine.
Have you noticed that there's been a change in your fan base?
A shift in the female thing. No, women have always gone mad.
Oh, really?
Yeah. No, I'm joking. I don't know. I don't know. No, I just get... maybe ladies are just more sensible, and men are less sensible, so they come up and ask you to do stuff, you know. So girls will just look on and not come up and ask you to sign stuff, maybe particularly. So you're not really aware of it as much.
Baz Luhrmann, the director of Moulin Rouge, finds the whole Ewan as sex symbol thing a little distracting.
Well, if you'd been at a recent screening in Los Angeles where it was supposed to be a very big, serious, you know, American Film Institute discussion about the movies, and one girl got up in front and said, can I ask a question? Could I have a kiss? And like for the next 20 minutes it was like, you know, 50 people, me too, me too, me too. So, you know, it's totally disrupted our very serious work process, but it's very true. No, the gals love him.
But how do you feel about that?
It's good. Are you kidding? It's great. That feels really good, yeah.
Are you surprised by it?
Well, no, Moulin Rouge is a really sexy film, and it's all about... it's hugely romantic, and I've always loved that in movies. I loved them when I was a kid, really romantic movies. Even as a, you know, 5-, 6-year-old kid, I would watch black and white movies from Hollywood in the 30s and 40s, and the more romantic, the better. And so Moulin Rouge is hugely about being in love. And because he's a very open and passionate young guy, and the way he loves her, you know, and the way you as an audience, you just desperately want them to be together and for everything to be okay.
Ewan's longtime agent, Lindy King.
I was talking to a producer afterwards, and she just said, I've never seen anybody be showered with love so much as Nicole was during that film. And she just said, you know, any woman kind of just thinks, yeah, I want to feel like that. I would love to be loved like that. And I think that's, you know, that's the key to it.
Well, while the ladies love Moulin Rouge, what are the Star Wars fans like around you?
They're all right. You know what? I don't really get bothered by it at all. I don't choose to go to conventions and things like that, which you can do. I don't. I've no interest in doing that, you know. I love being in Star Wars movies. I love it because children come up and ask me about stuff. And I love it because I love kids and I love the way they see the world. And they come up and they go, did you really cut Darth Maul in half? And you can go, yeah, I did, you know. And I pushed him down the big hole. And they ask how you turn your lightsaber on. And they're wonderful, the way they see the world. And I love that, because I was one of those kids with about the first Star Wars films.
He was a big Star Wars fan, but in 1977, 6-year-old Ewan McGregor couldn't have imagined he'd someday play the young Obi-Wan Kenobi. After all, Ewan grew up about as far away from Hollywood as you could get.
I come from a very small town in Scotland called Crieff, a very beautiful place, but very small.
When it came to acting, young Ewan had a role model. His uncle, Dennis Lawson, was a working actor.
He would come up from London, having been from Crieff himself, but having moved to London during the 70s, and would be this crazy hippie with sheepskin waistcoats and beads, and would very often not wear shoes and have great big handlebar moustaches, and he was just unlike, you know, Crieff is essentially like farming, it's in the middle of farmland. And there was this incredible character who happened to be my uncle. So I'm sure from a very early age I just wanted to, or I felt the need that it would be good to be different like that. It would be nice to be different. And so I wanted to be an actor. And then by the time I was 9, I remember saying to him, Dennis, I really want to be I want to be an actor. And he said, look, come back to me in 10 years, and if you still want to, we'll talk about it.
I remember him being very serious, and it wasn't, our relationship was never very serious, you know, so I knew that he meant it at that time, but he never wavered from it, never.
From 9 on, I was going to be an actor, and everything since then has been geared towards being one, and being the best one I can be. So school was a bit of a drag for me, because I stupidly didn't think that any of it was very relevant to me, you know. And so it became about music and art and like poetry readings, whatever it was, anywhere I could kind of perform was what school was about to me. So music played a big part of that. I was in the pipe bands, I was a side drummer in the pipe bands. I played the French horn to like all through my schooling and used to do recitals on that and stuff.
But music wasn't his passion. It was speaking on stage that turned him on.
My first kind of experience of that was at school doing this very long poem, like a 38-verse poem or something. And there was a big centenary or something of the school, and they had this review show, so I went on to do this huge poem. And that was my first taste of it, I think. Because I remember very clearly it was quite funny, and I had to do it in a very strong dialect that wasn't my own, and I made them laugh, and I could kind of get a sense that I could control that a wee bit, and that was very exciting.
By the time he turned 16, Ewan was fed up with school.
I just couldn't do it anymore. I couldn't, I seemed not to be able to understand anything anymore. And I just kind of was time for me to go. And I didn't realize that, and just got into trouble a lot, really. No, I wasn't a rebel or anything, but I had this kind of attitude problem.
Well, you were elsewhere. You were
I wanted to be doing something else, yeah. And so my mum, I was driving through to the little town where I was brought up with my mum one night in the rain, and she said, you know, listen, I've spoken to your dad, and if you want to leave school now, you can. Now, I'd never even entertained the notion that I might be able to leave early. I never thought about it. I just assumed I would be stuck there for another 1.5 years. And suddenly she said this, and I went, wow, I can get out, and I did.
Here's a revealing fact. Ewan loved the original Star Wars, but what made the movie extra special for him was that his Uncle Dennis played a small role as the rebel pilot Wedge. So Ewan McGregor is really a second-generation Star Warrior. When we come back, the naked truth.